Welcome to the I Stand Correct podcast, where the most important thing is being right. Today on the show, Donald Trump is calling Governor Tim Walz some bad names. Has Trump's rudeness finally exceeded all boundaries, or is he finally as based as his base is? The governor put tampons in the boys' room and is trucking in immigrants by the boatload to secure enough votes for his third term. Never mind that they're defrauding taxpayers and funding a civil war. If you agree, hit like. If you think I'm wrong, leave a comment. And if you're smart, you'll hit subscribe. Let's do it. All right. Good morning to the I Stand Correct podcast audience. We appreciate you joining me today. Hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving. Mine was awesome. I just need it to last until January 15th, and then I'll be feeling great. Donald Trump started up on Thanksgiving, made it one of the most memorable Thanksgivings ever. He was saying a lot of things that I was saying only an hour before that. I was having a heated discussion with some of the family members around the Thanksgiving table, and I was getting pretty rowdy. And then all of a sudden, President Trump pretty much dropped a lot of the same sentiments that I was saying. So it sparks a question. Is Donald Trump finally crossed a river, crossed a line where some of his supporters can never stand by him after the use of that vicious and terrible word? There's a lot of good people, a lot of evangelistic type people on the right who really try not to behave that way. And it's really hard for them to stand by a guy that would use language and behavior like that they can't abide. On the other hand, he also did have his locker room talk of several years ago, and the evangelicals looked over that, and maybe they'll be able to stand by him. But it's an absolute watershed moment for his base, because now is a time where for the 10,000th time, really, he has shown his true colors on what kind of person he is. And I'm not even necessarily criticizing that. So are people going to stand by him in this moment, or is there going to be some kind of backlash? The GOP, the grand old party of guys like, Ford and Reagan, they probably would never talk this way about somebody, but maybe he's trying to appeal to a different base. Maybe he's trying to appeal to the MAGA base. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Just to kick things off, just to get some definitions on the books. The word retard is not meant for people with handicaps. It's meant for non-handicapped people who are stupid. And if you don't understand this, you're a retard. In fact, although that's a word that I use, I would never call someone who had any kind of ability problems. I would never, whether they're disabled or differently abled or whatever you would call them, neurodivergent or anything else, I would never actually call them that word, but I would call a stupid person that. This is from Not the Beat Trump to permanently pause migration from all third world countries. Moving on from the obvious oxymoron that is permanently pause, you would think stop would be the word he would use. It was a Thanksgiving message for the ages. It was very long. So we'll just post some of his best hits. I'll read a highlight here. A very happy Thanksgiving salutation to all our great American citizens and patriots who have been so nice in allowing our country to be divided, disrupted, carved up, murdered, beaten, mugged, and laughed at, along with certain other foolish countries throughout the world for being politically correct and just plain stupid. When it comes to immigration, United States foreign population stands at 53 million people per the census, most of whom are on welfare from failed nations or from prisons, mental institutions, gangs, or drug cartels. A migrant earning $30,000 with a green card will get roughly $50,000 a year in benefits from the government. So can we just say that maybe he's making a point just by numbers? If America is the best country on earth, if we are the best that this world gets, and this is, not that great, all things considered, we don't have everything figured out here. Why are we going to take people from countries that have even less law and order? Case in point, this country, when someone commits a sex offense, we register them as a sex offender. Are we going to take people from countries where stuff like that is culturally normal and not even against the law? And even if it is, they don't have to register as a sex offender. And even if they did, they might not have to tell us when they got here. Is that a risk that you really want to take? I mean, you could say, well, we could properly vet people, but can we? We're not properly vetting the people that are our valuable allies that came from Afghanistan. This refugee burden is a leading cause of social dysfunction in America, something that did not exist after World War II. As an example, hundreds of thousands of refugees from Somalia are currently taking over the once great state of Minnesota. And I've been there, and it's true. Somalian gangs are roving the streets looking for prey as our hope. Wonderful people stay locked in their apartments, hoping against hope that they will be left alone. Here comes the banger, though. The seriously retarded governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, does nothing either through fear, incompetence, or both. And I think we're about to discover that it's not fear, incompetence, or either one of those things together. Well, the worst congressman woman in our country, Ilhan Omar, was always wrapped in her swaddling hijab, who probably came here to the USA illegally, and that you are not allowed to marry your brother. And she has posted on social media and elsewhere saying, now I'm in danger because of Donald Trump's lies. She wants Secret Service protection because she thinks people are going to come after her. Could she just explain who she married? I know what you're saying. Well, she shouldn't have to dignify these allegations, these scurrilous lies. We're kind of past dignity, though, aren't we? Like, we're way past that when we're calling the governor of Minnesota retarded. And as we'll get into just a second, it's not completely one-sided. So anyway, he's permanently pausing migration from all third world countries. And I guess we're going to figure out who those third world countries are. But this is exactly what the MAGA base and, frankly, millennial Republicans have been waiting for, is a massive pause on migration. We're not deporting them fast enough to make a real difference in this country in the last 3 years of Donald Trump's term. So we've got to stop bringing them in as well. And I think that extends to all forms of immigration. I think with a housing crisis like this, you could say, well, our indigenous natural-born citizens can't afford a house. Country's full. I think there's maybe a point that you could make there. And if you cancel visas and you say, hey, thanks for visiting America, we appreciate your business, but it's time for you to go back home, and you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Simple supply and demand. All of a sudden, all these people who are occupying dwellings in the United States, once asked and then forced to leave, those houses will then be available. The supply will go up. The demand for houses will largely stay the same since no one can get one. And all of a sudden, houses will be affordable. So no more immigration from corrupt, failed states. That would be great, because, a failed state is made up of failed people. Sorry. You want to know why a country like Liberia is not succeeding when they modeled themselves on the United States? It's because they never had James Madison. They never even had Alexander Hamilton. Let's deport those who refuse to assimilate. No more welfare for non-citizens, which is kind of how it's supposed to be. Why are we supporting these people? Why are we like a Motel 6 for vagrants? And we also need to deport criminals and security risks. So that's good. But Governor Walz fired back and said, show us the MRI. Basically, Donald Trump recently went and got an MRI. People think that he's in deteriorating mental health or deteriorating condition because of his age. It's something that's very interesting to me because we watched Joe Biden sunset before our eyes, like ultimately crumble to the point where he said, we defeated Medicaid. And that was fine. After Joe Biden had that debate in which he said we defeated Medicaid, they let him go back to the White House and continue presidenting. I mean, it wasn't like he was shoveled off to an old folks home after that. So it's funny to me that we're going to not criticize Joe Biden enough to do anything about it anyway, but we're going to question Donald Trump, saying that, all of a sudden acting viciously or mean is a side of dementia. The thing is that Donald Trump has always acted this way. It's not a new change. It's not like grandpa all of a sudden is suddenly mean to grandma, right? That's what you see with senility, dementia, Alzheimer's, all of these things where, functioning is impaired. He was calling Rosie O'Donnell fat and horrible things, and Megyn Kelly, all these during the 2012 debates or whatever, 2016 debates. So it's not really a change in behavior. So I don't know why he's trying to claim that. It's rather a weak shot back to say, oh yeah, show us the MRI, show us who's really retarded. It was kind of a weak reply, but what do you expect from a guy who puts tampons in the boys' room and And he was selected as the everyman beer drinking relatable guy for the Democrat ticket, and it didn't really work out. But Donald Trump is also making a good point about what's going on in Minnesota and the fraudsters. This is from News Nation. Are Minnesota taxpayers funding a Somali terror group? We used to care about terrorism. That used to be kind of a big thing in this country. We used to be worried about it. Certainly, we forfeited a lot of our freedoms with the Patriot Act in order to put an end to terrorism. But it looks like now we just, rubber stamp that. According to News Nation, and I did read other sources as well who claim that attacking Somalis for fraud is just racist behavior and it's trying to put Somali Americans in fear. Current and former federal sources confirmed to News Nation that funds raised by Minnesota-based nonprofit during the COVID-19 pandemic never made it to those in need, but rather some of those wound up in the hands of an Al-Qaeda-linked terror group, Al-Shabaab. Ooh, Al-Qaeda, that's kind of the big one. The allegations against the former nonprofit Feeding Our Future are among the most serious against an organization for alleged misconduct during the pandemic. And there was a lot of that. A lot of people were signing up for COVID money when they were not supposed to be doing that. So they recruited more than 200 federal child nutrition program sites throughout Minnesota, claiming to be serving meals to thousands of children a day. The nonprofit, however, created fake attendance rosters and fake invoices that would eventually be reimbursed by the federal government. Ooh, so they're kind of living up to, unfortunately, what the stereotype is. The stereotype is that Somalians are pirates, that they're the people who are calling grandma, that they're the ones who are asking her for, gift cards and bank account and other identifying information. That's kind of a stereotype, but they're kind of living up to it. I'm like, they're the ones taking over the freighter. They're the ones who are doing that. So I read this other article by this guy who's a local politician in Minnesota. And he said that it's just a way of stirring up a racist hatred against Somali Americans. And his whole point was like saying, well, if this is true, the U.S. attorney has not wasted any time prosecuting other fraud and not wasted time going after money being funneled to terrorist organizations. So why aren't they prosecuting these cases? Maybe it's because the federal attorney realizes that trying to prosecute anything in this country is a waste of time. This is from KARE 11 News, the NBC affiliate in Minneapolis. Hennepin County judge tosses out jury's guilty verdict in $7.2 million home healthcare fraud case. Jurors tell KARE 11 that the decision wasn't difficult after seeing evidence of obvious fraud committed by Abdifatah Yusuf. So he committed obvious fraud. There was a trial for him in August. The jury heard evidence that he ran his home healthcare company, Promise Health, out of a mailbox on Central Avenue, where multiple other home healthcare companies were supposedly located. They're all in the mailbox. Okay, it's not fraud. Yusuf and his wife, Lol Ahmed, were charged with stealing $7.2 million in taxpayer money, which I think is more money than Brett Favre stole. Brett Favre did get away with it through Medicaid overbilling and personal care assistance scam. The couple allegedly spent tens of thousands of fraud money on luxury items for themselves. At least they're not funding Al-Qaeda, right? I mean, that's the upside, is that they're stealing $7.2 million. $7.2 million out of your pockets, Minnesotans. And they bought luxury items with it, but at least they didn't send any to Al-Shabaab or Al-Qaeda. The one juror said it was not a difficult decision whatsoever. The deliberation probably took 4 hours at most. And like we have said on other channels here, they probably waited until they had lunch or dinner to decide. Based off of the state's evidence that was presented, it was beyond a reasonable doubt, jury foreperson Ben Walfort told KARE 11 News. So we gave it to the jury to decide. They're their peers, right? We gave it to the jury, our system of fair play, to decide whether or not these two Somalians, I don't know if they're Americans or not, committed healthcare fraud. They said, yes, it was obvious. 4 hours. They convicted him. And defense attorney Joe Tamburino, who's not affiliated with the case, reviewed the decision and said that Judge West ruled that the state's case relied heavily on circumstantial evidence, which is not a problem. Circumstantial evidence is evidence. I don't know how you're supposed to have direct evidence. Are you supposed to have like them on camera, like, jumping at a big pile of ill-gotten funds? I don't, if it's a financial crime, it's mostly going to be circumstantial evidence. Like you're going to print out a bank statement or something, which, by the way, I'm sure they had that. So the judge wrote that she was troubled by the manner in which fraud was able to be perpetuated at Promise Health. So she said that it did happen. She was troubled by the fact that fraud did happen. But she overturned the ruling. She overturned the jury's verdict. The jury went there and had all of their time wasted for this trial because the judge is sitting there watching, thinking she's got a finger on the scale of justice. She's not going to let this happen at any point. And what's amazing to me is that why didn't the defense attorney for these two Somalians, why didn't they move for a directed verdict? Normally you would do that. Like if there's a chance that the judge is just going to throw it out because the prosecution didn't make the case, you ask the judge to do that. Before you start presenting your own defense, you could just say, hey, now that the prosecution's rested, I want to ask for a directed verdict that they didn't make their case. And the judge could be like, yeah, I didn't see any evidence here. We're done. The judge can do that. And also, after the defense makes their case and they rest, they can also ask the judge for a directed verdict. Say, judge, can you just make the verdict now? And if the judge thinks, yeah, there's no chance this happened, the judge can do that. So why did the judge allow the jurors to deliberate for 4 hours? Was it just to let them have their pizza? And then she tossed it out saying that there's, even though fraud occurred, she said they didn't investigate that it could have been something other than criminal intent. Is that her way of saying that they just were stupid enough to somehow stumble into $7.2 million? I mean, to be honest, I think it takes a lot of work to defraud the federal government out of $7.2 million. For me, that would just be a job. Obviously, it was for them too. So can you see why maybe there's not a lot of confidence that if they take cases like these about defrauding the federal government and state programs and funneling money overseas to Al-Shabaab, that maybe there's not a lot of faith that a federal district court judge in Minnesota is going to be fair and unbiased about it? We're already seeing state judges in Hennepin County who are throwing that out. And we're already seeing plenty of federal judges who are standing athwart Donald Trump as it is. So anything they bring forward is already going to be politically charged. And the same thing for Ilhan Omar, where, Donald Trump's accusing her of wearing a hijab and committing fraud to get into this country, that she married her brother, which, by the way, she's saying she's in fear. She's not saying, I didn't marry my brother. You'd think that would be the first thing she would say. I didn't marry my brother. It's one thing to just say, these are lies. That's like a kid going, did you eat all the cookies? No. Well, who ate all the cookies? I don't know. She could just say like, this is the love of my life, and I met him at college, and he's not at all related to me, and I'll take a blood test to prove it, just to shut down these rumors, right? If you're plagued by scandal and rumors, wouldn't you want to exonerate yourself? Yes, you shouldn't have to. And yes, if you play their game, it's going to be one more accusation after another. But if you really are above reproach, and if you really are doing the right thing, and if you really are supposed to be here, you should be able to go to the ends of the earth to prove it and silence all of your critics rather than just saying, these are lies. I want Secret Service protection. But Donald Trump says she won't be in this country for long. And she's, I guess, worried about, first of all, the amount of fear that's being instilled on the formerly protected class of Somalians, which, again, I don't know why they have any kind of protection. But she's worried about getting deported. Well, can we even deport her? Because let's just suppose, I know you don't agree, but let's suppose she did marry brother. Gross. But suppose that she did. And we take it all the way to court. And we put this in front of a federal judge. Do you think the federal judge is going to rule in our favor? The federal judge will end up saying something that the Hennepin County judge is. She's just be like, I think it is gross to marry your brother. I do find, I am saddened by how easy it was for Promise Health to commit fraud. I am saddened by how Ilhan Omar married her own brother, but nope, case dismissed. Fuck, what are you supposed to do? When all of a sudden you just have a judge overturning what a jury says, that's true authoritarianism. That's true fascism, because you have the people making a decision, right? A jury, they're all voting just like they would in an election, but someone just comes in and says, no, I don't think so. I'm a judge. I know better than you. And these people are just stupid. They're not criminals. Which, are we not going to deal with the fact that that's some sort of bigotry of low expectations? But no, we're not going to, because it lets the Somalians off the hook. But let's get to the real question here. Is Tim Walz really retarded? Well, this just broke this morning, I think. December 1, Minnesota government workers just wrote one of the most scathing letters of all time, claiming Tim Walz covered up Somali fraud schemes. So he's not retarded. He knew what he was doing. He's in full command of his faculties as he helps funnel money to Al-Shabaab, an Al-Qaeda cousin. This is from Edward Teach over at Also Not the Bee. I don't know who has ever seen anything this brutal in politics. Here's the post. It's long, so the transcript follows. Here's from the Minnesota Department of Human Service employees on X, on Twitter. Tim Walz is 100% responsible for the massive fraud in Minnesota. We let Tim Walz know of fraud early on, hoping for a partnership in stopping fraud. But no, we got the opposite reaction. The opposite response. Tim Walz systematically retaliated against whistleblowers using monitoring, threats, and repression. Wow. So not only did he kind of like passively enable it by being retarded, they actually told him about it and he stepped on the gas. He allowed it to happen. And that's kind of what I implied at the beginning of the show, is that he, like leaders from this country and around the world, are trying to import a certain block of voters who are going to be basically indebted to him, whether it's because he provides for their fraud money to go to Al-Shabaab, their remittances to send back to Somalia for whatever legitimate purposes there might be, or their food or their housing. Nobody shoots at Santa Claus. Nobody votes against the man who feeds his family. So he brings these people in. They're sort of indebted to him. He owns them politically, and it secures for himself a base. So it doesn't matter that he's selling out the people in the culture of Minnesota, which used to be Paul Bunyan in Babe the Blue Ox, and now it's the guy who from Captain Phillips who took over a ship. You know, it doesn't matter that he's completely selling out that culture, and that the Minnesota Vikings at some point will be rebranded the Pirates. He used the full force of his power to shut the response to the fraud down. The good government of Minnesota, the sort of the Minnesota deep state, if you will, saw this going on, and they said, we need to put a stop to it. They brought it to the governor's attention, and I guess he said no. Because Minnesota has been embroiled by multiple fraud schemes involving billions and billions of dollars. Most of that fraud has come from Somali migrants living in the state. The Times did actual research concluded that Tim Walz did absolutely nothing to stop it. In response, the Minnesota Department of Human Service employees, a group representing 480 state employees. I wonder if they're like a union or something, because you wouldn't think that they could get on social media and say whatever they want without getting fired. On the other hand, it is Minnesota. Walz was not only complacent about the fraud, but actively ran interference for the fraudsters out of his leftist sense of duty to multiculturalism. So let me get this straight. Multiculturalism and fraud go hand in hand? Apparently they do, because if you have to cover up bad behavior in the name of a group of people, then I guess it goes without saying that those two things are one and the same. Because if you can't you should be able to get rid of fraud without getting rid of a group of people, right? I guess not. Tim Walz systematically retaliated against whistleblowers, like I said. Got the full weight of retaliation by Tim Walz, certain Democratic Farmer Labor Party members, and an indifferent mainstream media. It's scary, isolating, and it left us wondering who we can turn to. In addition to retaliating against whistleblower, Tim Walz disempowered the office of the legislative auditor, allowing agencies to disregard their audit findings and guidance. Media and politicians supporting Tim Walz or the DFL agenda attacked whistleblowers who are trying to raise red flags. So now that the president's calling him retarded, it set this huge fire. They feel like they can come out and talk about these things because Tim Walz has bigger things to worry about. So there you go. He's not retarded. He's just, corrupt and evil. But we knew those things from when he shut down those restaurants while I was trying to get my quiche and while he was putting tampons in the boys' room. This is really just more par for the course. Thanks, everyone who joined the show live. Talia, good morning. David, it's good to see you here. Jenny here, good to see you as well. Chase is here. Thanks to everyone who joined me live in the chats. I do want to get you mad about this. But then I don't want to set you on out to the world feeling all angry and tired and like you want to go punch a Somalian. I don't want you to do that. So we will be just going through our regular memes today, as always. Drew's here, says, I'm just not comfortable with the R word. I completely understand the First Amendment, but it's being overused, both the R word and the First Amendment. Well, Drew, is constantly anti-constitutional. You cannot overuse the First Amendment. And Drew, just to be clear, the First Amendment only protects speech, which is offensive, because if he had called him a butthead or something, or some kind of stupid other name, we wouldn't need the First Amendment to protect that. So the First Amendment really only exists to protect ugly speech, and the First Amendment really exists to allow us to criticize the government. And if you think the First Amendment is being overused, just look at other countries where you're not allowed to have the First Amendment. The United Kingdom, where the police are showing up at your door and confiscating your daughter's phone because she looked at a social media post, let alone posting anything. Look at Germany, where if you're a German citizen and you are posting memes critical of the supreme leader of Turkey, you get showed up and thrown in jail. That's what it's like when there's an absence of the First Amendment. So the First Amendment is absolute, and it's always going to protect the things that you don't like. That's how it is. That's what the First Amendment was for. Hiding behind the protection. Well, it doesn't mean that there's no consequences. You don't think that there's not political fallout for this, though? There's always consequences for everything that you say. The First Amendment just means that you don't go to jail for it. There's plenty of consequences for the First Amendment. In fact, always doing the right thing. Whenever you do the right thing, there's always going to be a consequence for it, because of how many people are out there that are trying to do the wrong thing, actively trying to do the wrong thing. So if you're out there doing the right thing, you know that you're going out on a limb and you need that protection. So there's always going to be consequences for that. And if you go around calling people the R word, it's going to hurt you at your job. It's going to hurt you in your circle of friends and family. But it's important that Congress makes no law that infringes upon that right. I'm making your point. I don't think so. We don't call the government the R word. It's not discourse without discord. Well, that's just your personal policy, though. That's not what everyone else's policy is. And if you have just discourse without discord, we'd still be ruled by the British. So I think discord at some point is definitely called for. But if you want to know how things are going in Minnesota, this is how things have gone. That was the old Minnesota state flag. And then a bunch of people who lived there got a gander at the Somali flag, and look at the new Minnesota flag. So influence of that particular sect of society is definitely increasing. I could never eat an entire 8-ounce block of cheese. Okay, mamacita, but what if we melted up and gave you an unlimited basket of tortilla chips to scoop it up with? Oh, see. Did you guys get any overeating done during Thanksgiving? I know that I did. I was feeling terrible, and I'm still, the funny thing about it, I saw a meme on this. I didn't grab it, but it's like, people will meal prep for an entire week, right? They'll make chicken and other things. They'll make it on Sunday night and it'll last the whole week. But Thanksgiving leftovers go bad within 48 hours. You're like, I have to eat this. I don't want it to all go to waste, That's kind of where I'm at. Like last night, like I get home from work and I'm not even that hungry, but I'm eating stuffing and I'm eating pumpkin pie. I'm like, well, I don't want it to go to waste. I don't normally eat this good. And I'm going to bed feeling sick because of it. The day mitochondria went from being the powerhouse of the cell to the ATP synthesis by oxidative phosphorylation was a horrible day. Can you see why we say the powerhouse of the cell, though? I can't say phosphorylation. Phosphorylation? Ugh. Powerhouse of the cell. Nothing more silly than the urgency of restaurant work. Well, table 6 needs a lobster right now. Grow up. We're looking for a drummer for our band, the Drummer Murderers. It kind of reminds me of what was that? Spinal Tap, where the drummers kept disappearing and dying under mysterious circumstances. One of them was lifted off screen. He just ascended straight up. Another one disappeared in a puff of green smoke, left a little bit of slime behind. Sometimes the green sauce is spicier than the red, despite being the color of medicine or soothing jungle foliage. There's no way to adequately account for this. Green is always spicier, isn't it? I thought green was always spicy. And I thought that was like a natural thing. Like green means go. And if you're eating salsa, it should be spicy. What's the point of salsa that's not spicy? I don't know, just me. My neighbors just had a baby, so I'm heating up the cube. What? Pediatricians definitely aren't treating illnesses like this anymore. This is back in 1962. You're sick? Well, 1 teaspoon of whiskey, 1 teaspoon of lemon juice, and 1 teaspoon of honey. Ironically, my insurance is so bad, this is the only prescriptions they would actually sign off on. Whenever I have a good day, I feel like it's my last before I'm going to be put down. That's why I had a couple good days on Thanksgiving, and I wasn't quite sure. Actually, I had some interesting times. Those of you who know that I live in the north, in the middle of the nowhere, the Midwest, and there's a lot of snow. When Comm Center started, I was always kind of complaining because I would be spending a lot of time shoveling snow, and in truth, that winter was the most prolific snowfall year that we ever had, and it was oppressive and disturbing. And I got to the point where when I was moving snow, I had nowhere to put it. I would literally throw it on the pile, and it would just roll back down to where I was shoveling it from. Well, we got our first snowfall over Thanksgiving, and I was super smart this year, super prepared. So 2 weeks ago, I got out my snowblower, and I got it out of the shed, and I gassed it up, and I primed it, and I started it up, and it started, and it was running a little hot, like it was running lean. It got a little hot, and it shut down. I couldn't get it restarted, so I'm like, shit, this is no good. But at least, now I know, well, it's still sunny and warm outside, because it was sunny and warm outside just 2 weeks ago. I take it to get it fixed. Give it to this guy, load up in a trailer, drive it all the way to a different town, change the carburetor on it, fixes some stuff in the gas tank that came loose. Get it back. It snowed. Do you think that motherfucker started? No, because nothing works out for old John. So that was just enough to make me want to do myself in over the weekend. But other good things happened. Like I said, I had a very good meal. A lot of good football games happened to me. It was actually funny at my house. We were watching the Cowboys game, and we were under the winter storm warning that I just talked about. And the local news had a graphic playing across the bottom saying, "Warning, snow may be coming to your area tomorrow," on Friday or Saturday. And it was covering up the score ticker at the bottom. So I couldn't see the score, the game clock, or the whatever, or the play clock. And so I'm sitting there, and, of course, Prescott throws an interception, and it's run back for a touchdown, like right away. And I'm like, shit. Well, I need to know how much time has gone by. Like, are we still in the first, 5 minutes of this game? Because then it's, it's not a big deal. We can come back from that. We still have plenty of football to play. It's all right. If it happens like right away, it's almost the same as them just having a quick possession and scoring. The interception's not that bad. But I can't tell because the stupid weather crawl is on. And I'm pissed off, and I'm not having it. So I look up the breaking news 1-800 number for this station near me. There's a number you can call, like if you see a plane crash or something, to let them know about it, to give them an advance tip. So I call up, and sure enough, they answer, and they answered, WTKR, how can I help you? And I'm like, could you get the stupid weather crawl off the screen? I can't see the score. I can't see the time clock, the game clock. And she goes, well, we need to let our viewers know about the bad weather's coming, and it's up to the weather department, and I'll pass it on to them. But I think it's going to be up for a while. And all of a sudden, it turns off on the screen. I'm like, thank me, everyone. I'm the one. I'm the only one. I'm that guy that would call the actual TV station to tell them to turn off the weather crawl so that I could see the score and the game clock at the bottom of the screen. So that kind of made me look cool in front of the family, that I'm the kind of guy that could just make things happen. I think that's kind of a dispatcher mentality, though, is that if there's a problem, there's a way to solve it. And then you just figure out how to solve it and you get it done. I think that's kind of a mentality that I think I got from my job. Not that anybody wouldn't be able to figure it out. I'm not like a genius, but how many people would actually go ahead and do that? Because there are a lot of people in my viewing area that are served by this particular station who are probably watching this game on Thanksgiving. None of them called. Like, why am I the one that's doing this, right? So yeah, just kind of, I don't know, made me look cool, I guess. That's my standard of what looking cool is calling the news and complaining and having them comply with me. You guys ever heard this recipe? You boil 1,000 flies in milk to create fly milk. You ever had that? My mom used to make us this when we were kids, though I think she'd only use a dozen or 2 flies at most. Is it really made with 1,000 flies, we'd ask, and she'd just smile and keep stirring. She didn't want us to know we were poor. It tasted just the same to me. Aw, you'll have a good mom who protects her kids from the realities of growing up poor. If your family starts arguing on Thanksgiving, please go live so we can all hear it. I should have put that one out last week. If you guys fight on Christmas, please go live. I want to watch that. What's for next year? I'm going to be more insane. That's all I know. My daughter loves to sleep with her butt in the air. It's the cutest thing. I think we all did this, right? I mean, I still sleep this way. I thought she was on a microwave. She's in some sort of enclosure, some sort of menagerie. I could only guess what that is. Taking a sip of beer and then letting out a big so the pregnant lady at the pool next to me knows what she's missing. Remember beer? I don't drink beer so much, but I'll do this with sushi. I'll seek out a pregnant lady and then just start eating. I'm like, raw fish, safe for me. I don't care about how much mercury I eat. It doesn't matter to me. Look, not everybody needs to be a strawberry, okay? There's room for cranberries in this world too. There's room for you to be weird and sour and only be tolerated by a handful of people around the holidays. I know you can. You could be fun if you're mixed with enough vodka. I believe in you. You could live in a bog. It's whatever at this point. I think that's probably me. I don't think that vodka will make me more fun, though. Guys, if honey's not available, what are you putting on these pancakes? It was never going to be honey. I don't know. I think that would be good. And yet I never do that. Pure maple syrup, the really top quality stuff, generally what I go with. I made a few waffles this past weekend. Chocolate chips, whipped cream. Honey's probably good, though. Am I annoying? Yes. Do I give a fuck? Also, yes, I'm really sorry about me all the time. Boilerplate apology whenever I have an interaction with someone. I'm just like, sorry for everything. I get it. Get why you'd be upset. Americans will use anything other than the metric system. A Dr. Pepper-sized meteor that's as heavy as 3 baby elephants was discovered orbiting Mars. First of all, that's amazing. Something that you can hold in your hand, but that clearly weighs, 3 tons? I don't know. 1.5 tons, something. I mean, that's got to be made of something pretty dense. You'd think something of that size to be that density, it would have to be made of an element that we don't know about. Because, what's the heaviest element? Tungsten? Right? Anybody know what the heaviest element is? I feel like you guys should all know that. I already did that one, guys. This is my first time having a white girlfriend. What do I feed it? Pain pills and mayonnaise. That sound right to you guys? If it was a marble cheese. I am loving nachos for dinner tomorrow night and I plan to eat a 16-ounce block of cheese. Honestly, cheese, it's low carb. As long as you can tolerate dairy, it's not a problem. It's got some protein in it. It's got lots of fat in it, so it makes you feel full. I think it's if you're going to eat anything and overindulge, I think certain cheeses are probably the way to go, right? You can package and freeze the Thanksgiving meals, then you can have weekly meal prep. I am not usually good at freezing food. I was just talking about this with Shorty Rides last night. She was telling me that she was having steak for dinner yet again. She has steak every day. I'm just like, I wish I could live the high Australian life of eating steak every day. She's like, well, why can't you? I'm like, well, I don't have access to steaks. I was like, yeah, because I'm in a small town, and if I went over to the local grocery and got a steak, it probably wouldn't be very high quality, but I could go to the store in the big city and get a whole bunch of steaks and freeze them. But I don't. I'm not good at that kind of advanced planning. I can figure out how to make someone turn off a weather crawl at a news station, but I can't feed myself for the rest of the week. I don't know what I'm going to want to eat tomorrow. I literally decide the day of what do I want to eat in the next few hours. I've always been that way. During COVID, when I was warned not to go to the grocery store, more than once a week, I was going twice a day sometimes. I didn't care. Green is usually the mild tomatillo salsa, guaca salsa. I guess this lady has never heard of a little vegetable called the jalapeno. I do take work all Thanksgiving weekend this year. I am not happy. Yeah, sorry. I did not have to work, but I had to take vacation to have it off. Isn't Hello Kitty's height usually measured by apples? Yeah, the Japanese do it. It's fine. I'm not staying. Just stop by to say, good day, mate. We'll go throw another shrimp on the barbie, Jonathan. Where you are, don't even have to use the freezer. Just set it outside. That's not even a lie. We had over Thanksgiving, the freezer and the fridge is full. So we put a 12-pack of soda outside because we knew it would cool down quickly that way. And then I had to go grab it because I didn't want it to explode. And they're like, it will explode? I'm like, yes, it's 14 outside. It will freeze and explode. Can you imagine being 14 outside in November? It's happening. Most Googled recipes by state in 2025. You can see down there in Florida where Drew lives. Meth-filled gator biscuits. That's why he comes up with hot takes like, I hate the First Amendment, which is not exactly what he said. But it just goes to show you, Florida man never let you down. Lesbians, what do you think about the Crunchwrap Supreme? Have you ever thought about just replacing in casual conversation rather than saying friends or gentlemen or whatever? Just say lesbians. What do you think about the Crunchwrap Supreme? One has to wonder what they think. They should make Halloween a 4-day weekend instead of Thanksgiving. Less time with family and more time with Satan. I don't think I could do Halloween for 4 days. Halloween is one of those things where there's a special energy about Halloween. As the sun setting on the 31st. It's completely dissolved by 9 p.m. I don't still feel fun or spooky at 9 p.m. It's over. When the trick-or-treaters stop coming by, I feel like Halloween's over. That's the age I'm at. I know that there's 20-year-olds who are probably still celebrating Halloween well into November 2nd or something, but I'm not there anymore. I don't think I could do a 4-day Halloween. For a guy supposedly called my brother, I've never seen him make broth even one time. What am I paying this guy for? How people drive out in the country. Stop sign, slow to 5 miles an hour and then continue. There's a bit of a scandal recently where one of the auditors, one of these guys who spends all his time just apparently sitting in his house with a camera pointed out the window at the stop sign. He caught a police officer doing a California stop at the stop sign and went down to the station to confront him about it. And the cop just completely denied it the whole time, which the cop should have just said yeah, you got me. Why don't you show it to the chief? And if he wants to write me a ticket, I'll gladly take it. Sorry about that. We should all be responsible citizens and I should be setting the tone. Instead, he just denies it over and over and over and over again. Really a bad look. But yeah, that's how we drive out here. Continue at 5 miles an hour. Some stop signs I know about, I'm not stopping at all. I'm going through that puppy at 55 because I know there's no traffic out there. And if I die, then I've risked all and lost. Yield sign, check that no one's around. Wait until someone is and then cut them off. I failed a yield sign the other day. I was kind of cruising right through the intersection and someone else turns in front of me and I have to swerve out of the way. I'm like, oh shit, that was me. I was supposed to yield. And then of course the speed limit's just generally higher than whatever is posted. No speed limit up to a certain point. I did take a 911 call the other day that someone was like, this guy's driving on the interstate. Okay. And he's doing 65. And keep in mind, our speed limit's 75, 80, somewhere around there. And everyone's doing around 85. So this guy's mad. He's doing 65. I'm like, okay. Well, somebody's going to get hurt. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, the posted minimum on the interstate is 40. You understand the limit's just a limit, right? What do you expect a police officer to do, to pull him over for driving 65 in a 75 or 80? Don't get me wrong. I'm someone that has driven slow just to make a point. And a police officer literally told me that if he ever saw me doing that again, he would write me a ticket for impeding traffic. I was driving so slowly. I was being a dick. But police officer, we're not going to send a police officer to go do that. If you see a vehicle driving slow, hopefully they have their hazards on. That would just be smart. Or an orange triangle in the back. But that's not against the law. Just because it pisses you off doesn't mean it's against the law. Something we're going to be dealing with on Com Center this Thursday is we're going to be looking at a case where there's a lady who doesn't like behavior from other people and wants the police to be her enforcers. And I will tell you, it's extremely common. I think it's going to be a good episode this week. Insanely lucky break that animals like to be petted. What's the adverb of that? Really not much you could do with most of them otherwise. I got hands and you like to have the top of your head touched. Looks like we are in business. While my family argues at Thanksgiving dinner, I'll be on the roof taking on a real enemy, the birds. We're eating one of you in here, I yell, shaking my fist at the sky. The turkeys aren't flying, though. They're just looking up. They want to know who you're talking to. White people be like, it's not the cold, it's the wind that gets you. This is absolutely so true. I was literally saying this the other week before I even saw this meme, because it was super windy, right? I don't even know what to tell you. The wind like blew over a newspaper stand. We still have those here where you put the quarter in and the newspaper comes out. Really strong winds blew my trash can into the next dimension. And I was just thinking about how miserable I was. And I was literally driving home like, I think I can handle cold, but I can't take the wind. Case in point, it was like the air temperature was like 30 degrees that day, but the wind was like around 90, and I was miserable. Yesterday I was out and about and it was about 14 degrees and sunny and there was no wind. I'm just like, I can do this. I can do 14 without any wind. It's really not a problem. It's the wind that kills you. It's not the heat that gets you. It's the humidity. It's not the cold. It's the wind. There's always some reason to complain. My preferred approach to social problems: identify the government intervention causing or exacerbating the problem, remove it, then allow voluntary solutions to emerge. Yeah, this is the thing that progressives don't understand, is that when your help hurts people, then it's really not help. And they always think that government is the big solution to the big problem. The thing is that they're very, very quick to open up my wallet and decide how to spend my money on a problem they care about. But they won't open up their own wallet. They won't be charitable with their own money. They're only going to be charitable with mine. And that's the inherent hypocrisy of progressives. Hey, at least when I say I hate the poor, everything about me backs that up, right? I'm not giving to them. I'm not donating to them. I'm not tithing like I'm supposed to be. At least I admit it. The doctor is neither near nor far. So you smoke a cigarette and eat an apple at the same time. This confuses the doctors. They don't know what to do, right? It's like you're inviting them inside like a vampire, but you got a cross in there. They can't get in. They can't leave either. Before you leave the house, always check to make sure you have the will to live. I assure you that every day I have not had the will to live, I did not leave the house. Those days had happened. Blocking people isn't enough. I want to microwave them. I feel this way sometimes. I realized recently that rage is pretty much my primary emotion, unbridled rage. My counselor is working again, though, so let's get that scheduled. What do you say? Go talk about some of my anger issues. On Thanksgiving Day in 1995, an intern swallowed my unborn brother. Thanksgiving is a sad day for the Clintons. Chelsea Clinton. Her whole life is a scam. She's only alive to make Bill and Hillary look like a loving couple and like make Bill look like a family man. We know that they don't love each other. We know that they use each other for political gain. And her whole life is fraudulent, and she doesn't realize it, of course. But how could she not realize that like her whole life is a ploy to advance the career of her father? If I was her, I would have changed. If I was her, I would have changed my name. Embarrassing. Parenting tip: kids can't really remember anything until they're 3 or 4. They all have amnesia. So there's really no point in interacting with them until then. Yeah, just wait till the kids, wait till you get to know them a little bit. Wait till they stick around. I say this to people all the time, particularly as when I was in my 20s and 30s and all my friends were having kids. So let me get this straight. You've known me for 5 years, for 10 years, but you're going to go hang out with them. You just met them. You barely know them. And even then, what's to know? They don't know anything. They don't do anything. You're going to hang out with your kids? A waste. And they wouldn't have remembered anyway. Chinese history is crazy. There'll be stuff called like the Yangzhou disagreement and have like 47 million casualties. That's when they name things. You think most people in China know about Tiananmen Square? They don't. I suppose this is the Guangzhou disagreement was probably an ancient history. For having little dust-ups that have 47 million casualties, they sure are still doing well in the population department. And this flag offends you. You need a history lesson. Then Baja Blast Lion, I stand behind you. I was wondering if your gang offered any good health insurance. What are the benefits of being in this gang? I tell you, I've known some people who have managed to leave gangs. They have to have their tattoos branded off of them, like with a butter knife on the stove branded. That's a bad deal. I don't think there's a lot of benefits to being in a gang, particularly like if you put the name of your gang on your chest or your face and then your gang does something, the police know that you were involved or that you know who was. You know, the Sicilian mafia didn't go around putting Sicilian mafia on their chest. They didn't do this. They were a smart gang. Why do we have all these like really like the audacity of it is like we have all these really stupid gangs, right? Mexican mafia, MS-13, Tren de Agua. They put their tattoos on their body. Texas Syndicate, whatever. It should have made it very easy for us to stop them, right? Oh, you're in this gang? Well, you're going to prison for being in a gang. I guess we have freedom of association here. We also have RICO statutes. I don't know. But the Sicilian mafia, the OG gangsters were smart enough not to do that. And they always look so classy, you know, in their pinstripe suits and their little hats and their little Tommy guns, you know, classy. And they probably actually did have very good benefits. Sorry, I got to go home and feed my wall socket a fork. My wall socket's hungry. I had my sister do that once. She's okay. This in a car crash that kills me immediately on impact. Guys. Finally resting in peace. That's what we all want. You guys interested in the single-use fireplace? $1,500. Who the hell built this? Why did they go to the trouble to do this? When I was looking at this, I'm just like, this is cool. How plausible is it that it could work, though? Like, could you cover it in tar or something? Protect the wood? Like, yeah, you get a lot of carcinogens and smoke that way, but I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't burn down. This is literally from my own cell phone. I got a text on Thursday or Friday. I don't remember which date it was, but it said, hey, I've been thinking about you, you know, and I get a lot of texts like that. A lot of people spend their time thinking about me because I'm handsome. I'm right. I've got a lot of things going for me. I have praiseworthy diction. I'm rarely late. There's a lot of reasons why people would be thinking about me, wandering through their mind. So I was not surprised by this at all when I get a random text from someone saying, hey, I've been thinking about you. And I said, what have you been thinking? You know, because I'm really trying to gauge who is this person. Do I know them at all? Is there any chance? Because it's a number I don't recognize, right? 236-333-7485, which, by the way, if you want to go ahead and text that number, I'm sure you can. You shouldn't, though. It's probably a spoof number. But they said, oh, I think I may have gotten the number wrong. I'm really sorry about that. This is Lila. I'm looking for Timmy or something. I'm like, don't worry about it. It's fine. Have a good day. Right? I'm just polite. And this is because one time I had somebody texting me and I was absolutely brutally ripping them. And then I figured out it was a kid trying to get in touch with their mom to pick them up from soccer practice. And I felt terrible. I'm like ragging on this person texting me and implying that they're really stupid for not figuring it out. And then I figured out that it's just a kid who's in danger. So I've always felt bad ever since then. But this person, and then they texted me like, you know, I figured it out. I found my friend, but you just seem really nice. You know, I live in Chicago. I found my friend, but you're so kind. I wanted to say hi. Chicago is home for me. Where are you from? I've gotten these before where they say like, I think you're so nice. I just want to get to know you. Off of what? Me telling you to have a nice day? I said, I'm in Chicago too. Be a lot better when we get all the illegals out of here, am I right? Fucking Somalians scamming people. They got to go. Don't care if they get marched into Lake Michigan, but they got to go. Let's get the National Guard in here, am I right? And I don't actually think they should be marched into a lake. I'm just making a point here that, you know, I don't like people who fucking try to scam me. I did not get a reply from this message. You know, I played it nice. I was nice. And then they seemed to be up to something. A normal person would not do this. You're just so nice. I want to get to know you. All I said was have a good day. What do you guys think about this? I'm curious. Mary Snitchmas, Idaho Saloon promises free beer to citizens willing to help ICE catch illegals. I'm never on their side, but there's like this weird moment of parallelism where if you think deporting illegals is wrong, even though it's in violation of Title 8 of the United States Code. It's like in the law that it's not okay to be here illegally. I mean, the very formation of the sentence, it's illegal to be here. It's obvious that it's illegal aliens. This idea that, you would snitch to Big Brother and have them thrown on a train and sent out of here, that seems a little Nazi Germany-ish, doesn't it? Informing the state where your neighbors are. It seems a little gross. I don't know. On the other hand, we do have 53 million people here, and they're not just trying to hide from being killed. They're here to take advantage of our welfare programs and not work and send money to a country that's embroiled in a civil war and terrorist groups akin to Al-Qaeda. So maybe it's not morally the same. You might feel gross when you're doing it, but you're also, cutting off funding to Al-Shabaab. If you're in Minnesota and you're running a bar and you send a tip to ICE. So I don't know. Maybe it could be the right thing to do. Something to think about when a mass shooter is still large, but the police won't release their description. You know what? 911 dispatcher will grab a description of a suspect. We usually have to give them several options as to what race the person was, because they almost never want to say. Is this person white, black, Native American, Hispanic? Then they'll pick a card. Children were killed at a massive mass shooting at a kid's birthday party in California. Very sad, but the news won't tell you who to look for, even as that person is at large. Got my tickets for the New Year's event, staying at home, doing nothing, going to bed early. I can't remember the last time I stayed up till midnight on New Year's Eve. Classic Detroit story. A man shot after throwing a shoe at a roach. Oh, just Detroit. Yeah, just typical. Every time you think that you have the TSA procedure down is when they tell you to keep your laptop in the bag and call you a dumb bitch. Literally happened to me. I told this story on the show before, where I showed up at the airport. I got there super early. I'm ready to comply with all the insane directives because I present one of two appearances, right? Number one, I look like a conservative guy. People think that I might kind of be aligned with, some sort of Waco adjacent entity. I look that way, or I look like I am affiliated with Al-Qaeda. I somehow fit into both groups, where I'm either a foreign terrorist or a domestic terrorist. I'm definitely one of those, based on the number of times I have automatically been patted down. And in spite of that, I accidentally transported a lighter with me once on 2 flights. So for all the patting down and all the scrutiny, they're not doing a very good job. It was an accident. I didn't catch it. But anyway, so I'm not even in line yet. I get through where you show your ID and they take a picture of you now, I guess, and you give them a little breath sample and a little blood and, a little DNA to the government for all time to use for whatever. And then I just go right over to the left. I'm not in line yet. There's no one in line because it's 5 a.m. But I'm like, I'm going to take off my belt and I'm going to take off my shoes and I'm going to take off my hat and my headphones because I always have headphones on. And I'm going to take out my laptop and I'm going to put my cell phone and my wallet. And I need a couple of these little tote things to send it through the conveyor belt with. And I'm just going to take my own time in my own space and I'm going to do these things. And I know that it's not like I'm trying to hide from the TSA guy. He can see me. There's cameras everywhere. I'm right next to this TSA guy that just checked me in. But I'm not in line yet because I want to just take my time and do this at my own pace. I hate it when I'm struggling to, undress in front of everyone. I guess I just want to have a little grace and time to do this myself. He's like, hey, get over here. I'm like, what? He's like, come on, just get over here. And I'm just like, I'm the only one here. Are we in a hurry? I'm in. Just get over here. And then I start taking on. I was like, just leave it on. Get through there. I'm just like, and you wondered why you wound up here. It's because you literally failed at probably being a correctional officer where this type of behavior is encouraged. You're not even good enough to do that. There's a movie on Netflix called Carry On where a TSA employee is the one who saves the day. Yeah, I heard it was bad. Anyway, just wanted to leave you on this, what Donald Trump thinks about Somalians. And I guess I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you agree? Did he go too far?
The people from different countries that are not friendly to us us, and countries that are out of control themselves. Countries like Somalia that have virtually no government, no military, no police. All they do is go around killing each other. Then they come into our country and tell us how to run our country. We don't want them.
You
got to talk up.
She said how many countries? Is there a list?
Well, I guess we gave you 19, right? And it's probably more than that.
Is that what you mean when you mean third world countries, those 19?
No, I don't think they're all third world, but in many cases they are third world. They're not good countries. They're very crime-ridden countries. They're countries that don't do a good job. They're countries that don't register from the standpoint of success. And we, frankly, don't need their people coming into our country telling us what to do.
When you talk about
I'm talking about like Somalia, where you have a congressman goes around telling everybody about our Constitution, and yet she supposedly came into our country by marrying her brother. Well, if that's true, she shouldn't be a congressman, and we should throw her the hell out of our country.
What do you think about that? If she did commit fraud, I mean, I think that you should, for anyone, not just because she's a congressman or just because you don't like her. Certainly, you know, if any action like this is taken against her, people who are critical of the Trump administration are going to say he's persecuting his political opponents. Well, the 4 years that he was out of office, they had him in court all the time. Was that persecution, or are they going after someone who was breaking the law? Is it truly persecution to be holding someone accountable to the law? If Trump's broken the law, he should be accountable to it. And if Ilhan Omar's broken the law, she should be held accountable to it as well. And Ilhan Omar also does frustrate me because she has a very pro-Somalian platform. And a lot of people in that community are always talking about what they need to be doing to make Somalia better in the form of remittances and other policies. And I guess establishing for themselves a new Somalia, as the case may be. And so you have to wonder, you know, a country with Western values, with it certainly has its own problems. We have enough criminals as it is. We have enough people who are getting out of jail after being arrested 72 times and setting people on fire. Do we need to just take the risk? Do we need to roll the dice and bring in someone from a country that doesn't have the most robust investigative services, the most robust criminal justice system? Do we need to be rolling the dice and possibly bringing in someone who's a very, very bad person? I say, why roll the dice? With the housing market the way it is, it certainly indicates to me that the country is full, and we certainly have enough criminals. And just as an upbeat side, I think we have enough good people too. I think this country is still a good country. It's still full of good people and smart people, and I don't think that we need to be importing anyone, even if they are good and smart. I think that America has enough Americans, and the whole idea that we're a melting pot, that's childish. We're our own country with our own national identity. We've been around for 250 years. We've spread from sea to shining sea. We have our own culture. We have our own heritage. We speak English here. We're a Christian country. We're a white country. Sorry, maybe you don't want it to be that way, but you know what? I stand correct.